Most people believe power is loud. They believe power reacts. They believe power dominates the moment. They are wrong. Real power is calm. Calm sees clearly. Calm decides carefully. Calm does not rush. Calm does not panic. Calm does not lose control when pressure rises. This audiobook is about building that power. The power of stillness. The power of restraint. The power of discipline. Because the calmest mind in the room often holds the most control. Calm is power. Reaction feels natural. Something happens. Emotion rises. Words appear. Most people respond immediately. They believe this shows strength. They believe this proves honesty. In reality, it proves lack of control. That's the key. Immediate reaction hands control to the situation. The moment you react automatically, the situation directs your behavior. Someone speaks sharply. You answer with anger. Someone criticizes you. You defend instantly. Someone challenges you. You escalate the conflict. In every case, the situation controls you. You have a choice. React automatically. Or pause deliberately. That pause changes everything. Most people never experience that pause. Emotion appears and behavior follows. The sequence feels unavoidable. But it is not unavoidable. It is simply untrained. Control begins with interruption. When emotion rises, pause. Do not speak immediately. Do not send the message. Do not defend yourself yet. Just pause. That small delay weakens escalation. Escalation thrives on speed. Emotion accelerates quickly. Anger spreads through the mind. Thoughts multiply. Interpretations grow dramatic. Within seconds, the mind becomes loud. Stillness interrupts that process. Stillness slows the emotional engine. When you pause, breathing changes. Muscles relax slightly. The nervous system stabilizes. Clarity begins to return. Clarity protects discipline. Most people believe reaction proves confidence. Confident individuals do not rush. They evaluate first. They observe the situation. They consider consequences. Then they respond deliberately. Deliberate response creates authority. Authority strengthens discipline. Reactive behavior weakens it. You do not need their permission to pause. Even when someone demands an immediate answer. Even when tension rises. Even when the moment feels uncomfortable. Silence can protect control. Stillness allows observation. Observation reveals information reaction hides. When emotion takes control, perception narrows. You focus only on the threat. You miss the larger situation. You exaggerate intention. You assume motives. You interpret tone as attack. Reaction transforms assumption into action. Action then creates conflict. Stillness prevents this chain. When you pause, you examine what actually happened. You separate fact from interpretation. Facts are stable. Interpretations are emotional. If someone speaks abruptly, the fact is tone. The interpretation might be disrespect. That interpretation might be wrong. Immediate reaction treats interpretation as truth. Disciplined response waits for clarity. This is not hesitation. This is discipline. Stillness gives the mind time to regulate. Regulation stabilizes emotion. Stable emotion improves judgment. Better judgment strengthens discipline. Reaction feels powerful in the moment. Later it often creates regret. A harsh reply. An unnecessary argument. A decision made too quickly. These moments damage relationships. They damage credibility. They damage self-respect. All because reaction arrived before discipline. Pause protects your authority. Authority begins with control over behavior. Control requires distance from emotion. That distance comes from stillness. Stillness is not weakness. Stillness is strategic. Strategic individuals slow down before acting. They evaluate risk. They evaluate context. They choose words carefully. This calm precision produces better outcomes. It's not about suppression. It's about discipline. Discipline prevents emotion from commanding behavior. Emotion may appear. Emotion may feel intense. But emotion does not decide your actions. You decide your actions. That distinction creates stability. You must train this pattern repeatedly. Every irritation becomes practice. Every disagreement becomes practice. Every stressful moment becomes practice. Pause. Observe. Breathe slowly. Then respond deliberately. Each repetition strengthens control. Control stabilizes identity. Stable identity strengthens discipline. Over time, reaction loses its urgency. Emotion still appears. But it no longer dominates behavior. You become calmer. You become clearer. You become more deliberate. That is real strength. The calmest person in the room often has the most control. And control is power. You have a choice. Let the situation control your reaction. Or develop the discipline to pause before acting. The pause protects clarity. Clarity protects discipline. Discipline creates calm authority. You stopped reacting immediately. You learned that stillness weakens emotional escalation. Now you must understand something deeper. The mind itself often moves too quickly. If the mind slows, emotional control becomes easier. The mind moves fast. Faster than most people realize. A situation appears. A thought forms instantly. Another thought follows. Then another. Within seconds, the mind builds a story. That story shapes emotion. Emotion shapes behavior. Most people never notice how quickly this happens. That's the key. Emotional instability often begins with mental speed. When the mind moves too quickly, perception becomes distorted. Small events appear larger. Neutral actions appear hostile. Uncertainty appears dangerous. Speed amplifies interpretation. Interpretation amplifies emotion. Emotion amplifies reaction. The cycle repeats constantly. You have a choice. Allow the mind to run freely. Or slow it deliberately. Slowing the mind creates space. Space allows observation. Observation protects discipline. Most people believe thinking faster improves control. In emotional moments, the opposite is true. Rapid thinking increases impulsive decisions. Impulsive decisions weaken authority. Authority requires calm evaluation. Calm evaluation requires a slower mind. Stillness begins here. When something triggers emotion, notice your thinking. Notice how quickly the mind begins explaining the situation. This is unfair. They disrespected me. This always happens. The mind tries to define the moment immediately. That definition often becomes inaccurate. Slowing the mind interrupts this pattern. When emotion rises, pause. Take one slow breath. Let the thoughts settle. Do not rush to explain what happened. Observe the moment before interpreting it. That simple delay changes perception. Perception becomes clearer. Clear perception protects discipline. You do not need their permission to slow your mind. Even when the environment feels urgent. Even when others react quickly. The calmest mind sees the situation most accurately. Accuracy strengthens control. Control strengthens discipline. Mental speed also multiplies emotional noise. Thoughts stack rapidly. One concern becomes 5 concerns. 5 concerns become 10 worries. Soon the mind becomes crowded. Crowded minds lose clarity. Clarity is essential for emotional stability. Stillness clears mental noise. When you slow your breathing, the mind follows. Breathing influences the nervous system. The nervous system influences thinking. Slow breathing slows the entire system. This reduces mental acceleration. Reduced acceleration restores balance. Balance protects discipline. Many people mistake mental noise for awareness. They believe constant thinking means control. In reality, it means instability. Stable minds are quieter. Quiet minds evaluate carefully. Careful evaluation prevents unnecessary reaction. Stillness becomes your advantage. When the mind slows, emotion loses intensity. Intensity requires momentum. Momentum requires speed. Remove speed and emotion weakens. That's the key. Slow thinking reduces emotional escalation. Escalation thrives on rapid interpretation. Interpretation fades when observation increases. Observation allows the mind to gather information. Information improves judgment. Judgment strengthens discipline. You must train slower thinking deliberately. When frustration appears, pause. Observe the thoughts forming in your mind. Do not follow each one. Allow them to pass. Return your attention to breathing. Return your attention to the present moment. This repetition retrains the mind. Over time, mental speed decreases naturally. Thoughts become clearer. Emotion becomes less chaotic. Decisions become more deliberate. Deliberate decisions strengthen emotional stability. Stable minds produce stable behavior. Stable behavior builds confidence. Confidence reduces emotional volatility. Everything connects. It's not about eliminating thought. It's about discipline. Discipline regulates mental speed. Regulated thinking protects emotional control. The calmer your mind becomes, the stronger your authority grows. Authority over the mind creates calm presence. Calm presence influences every situation you enter. You become steady even when others are reactive. You become clear when others are confused. This clarity is power. You have a choice. Allow the mind to accelerate uncontrollably. Or train it to slow down deliberately. A slower mind sees more clearly. Clear thinking protects discipline. Discipline creates calm authority. You stopped reacting immediately. Now you understand that emotional escalation often begins with mental speed. Next, you must regulate the body. Because emotional intensity is not only mental, it is also physical. Emotion does not begin only in the mind. It begins in the body. Before you speak, before you react, before you even form a clear thought, your body is already responding. Breathing changes. Your chest tightens. Your heart rate increases. Your muscles prepare for action. Most people ignore this signal. They focus only on their thoughts. But the body is already shaping the reaction. That's the key. If the body remains tense, the mind cannot remain calm. When the body accelerates, emotion intensifies. When emotion intensifies, discipline weakens. You must learn to regulate the body first. Breathing becomes your tool. Breathing influences the nervous system. The nervous system controls emotional intensity. Most people breathe rapidly when stress appears. Short breaths. Fast breaths. Shallow breaths. This signals danger to the brain. The brain responds by increasing emotional urgency. Thoughts become louder. Reaction becomes faster. The entire system escalates. You have a choice. Follow the body's urgency. or regulate it deliberately. Regulation begins with breath. Slow breathing sends a different signal. Safety, control, stability. When the brain receives this signal, the nervous system relaxes. Heart rate slows. Muscle tension decreases. Mental noise fades. Clarity returns. Clarity protects discipline. Most emotional reactions happen because people react before the body settles. They speak while the nervous system is still activated. They respond while breathing remains shallow. This guarantees instability. Stillness changes the sequence. When emotion rises, pause. Take one slow breath. Then another. Inhale slowly through the nose. Hold briefly. Exhale longer than the inhale. The exhale signals the body to relax. Repeat this several times. Within moments, the system begins to stabilize. You do not need their permission to breathe slowly. Even when pressure increases. Even when someone expects an immediate response. Even when the moment feels intense. Your calm breathing restores control. Stillness is not passive. Stillness is strategic. A calm nervous system allows disciplined thinking. Disciplined thinking produces deliberate action. Deliberate action prevents unnecessary escalation. Most people believe calm behavior requires mental strength alone. In reality, the body must cooperate. A tense body creates a tense mind. A calm body supports a calm mind. Everything connects. Breathing is the bridge between body and mind. Control the breath. You influence the entire system. That influence weakens emotional volatility. Volatility disrupts discipline. Discipline restores stability. You must practice breathing before acting. When frustration appears, pause. Slow your breath. Observe the physical sensation. Allow the body to settle. Then decide how to respond. This small habit prevents many emotional mistakes. Harsh words disappear. Unnecessary conflict fades. Decisions improve. Authority increases. Over time, your nervous system becomes more stable. Emotional spikes become shorter. Recovery becomes faster. Pressure affects you less. This is resilience. Resilient individuals remain calm under stress. Calm individuals see clearly. Clear perception improves judgment. Judgment strengthens discipline. It's not about suppression. It's about discipline. Discipline regulates the body before regulating behavior. Behavior follows the state of the nervous system. A calm system produces calm action. Calm action stabilizes life. You have a choice. Let the body dictate your reaction. Or train the body to support discipline. Slow breathing creates stability. Stability strengthens control. Control reinforces calm authority. You stopped reacting immediately. You slowed the mind. Now you understand that breathing restores physical control. Next, you must decide where your attention goes. Because attention determines which emotions grow stronger. Your attention decides what grows in your mind. Whatever you focus on becomes stronger. Whatever you repeat in thought becomes more powerful. Most people never control this process. They allow attention to move freely. From one thought to another. From one distraction to the next. Emotion follows that movement. That's the key. Attention feeds emotion. If attention stays on irritation, irritation grows. If attention repeats frustration, frustration deepens. If attention follows anxiety, anxiety multiplies. Emotion strengthens wherever attention rests. Most people assume emotion appears automatically. In reality, attention sustains it. Without attention, many emotional signals fade quickly. But when attention feeds them, they expand. You have a choice. Follow every emotional thought. or redirect attention deliberately. Most emotional spirals begin with one moment of attention. A small thought appears. You replay it. You analyze it. You repeat the story. Soon emotion intensifies. The situation feels larger than it actually is. Stillness interrupts this pattern. When a thought appears, pause. Observe it briefly. Do not follow it immediately. Return attention to the present moment. Return attention to your breathing. Return attention to the task in front of you. This redirection weakens emotional escalation. Escalation requires attention. Without attention, the emotional signal loses strength. You do not need their permission to redirect your mind. Even when the thought feels urgent. Even when emotion insists on attention. Urgency often comes from habit. Habits can change. Change requires discipline. Every time you redirect attention, discipline strengthens. Every time you follow emotional noise, reaction grows stronger. Attention behaves like a muscle. Use it deliberately and it strengthens. Allow it to drift and it weakens. Weak attention creates unstable emotion. Strong attention stabilizes the mind. Most people underestimate how often their attention shifts. Notifications appear. Messages arrive. Screens flash. The mind jumps constantly. Each jump fragments focus. Fragmented focus weakens emotional stability. When the mind is scattered, small problems feel overwhelming. Stillness restores concentration. Concentration stabilizes emotion. Stability protects discipline. You must treat attention as a valuable resource. Where attention goes, energy follows. Where energy flows, behavior forms. Behavior shapes identity. Identity determines outcomes. Everything connects. Stillness strengthens attention. When you pause and breathe slowly, the mind settles. Distractions lose urgency. Emotional thoughts lose momentum. Clarity returns. Clarity protects discipline. Most emotional reactions occur when attention becomes trapped. You replay something someone said. You imagine future problems. You create scenarios that do not exist yet. The mind begins to loop. Loops intensify emotion. Emotion fuels further attention. The cycle repeats. Discipline breaks the cycle. You notice the loop. You redirect attention. You return to the present moment. This small action changes the entire pattern. Attention stabilizes. Emotion softens. Judgment improves. Better judgment strengthens discipline. It's not about forcing thoughts away. It's about discipline. Discipline decides where attention goes. Emotion attempts to pull attention. Discipline guides it back. Over time, the mind becomes quieter. Distractions lose power. Emotional spirals weaken. You remain steady. A steady mind makes better decisions. Better decisions create stability. Stability strengthens discipline. You have a choice. Allow attention to follow emotional noise. Or train attention to follow deliberate focus. Focused attention stabilizes emotion. Stable emotion supports calm authority. You stopped reacting immediately. You slowed the mind. You regulated the body. Now you control your attention. Next, you must remove another source of emotional instability: the constant noise inside the mind. Because internal chatter amplifies emotional reactions. The mind is rarely quiet. Thoughts appear constantly. One thought replaces another. Questions appear. Memories appear. Predictions appear. Most people live inside this noise all day. They believe this constant thinking is normal. They believe it is necessary. In reality, it weakens stability. That's the key. Internal noise amplifies emotion. When the mind repeats a problem, emotion grows stronger.
When the mind analyzes frustration repeatedly, frustration deepens. When the mind predicts negative outcomes, anxiety multiplies.
Thoughts feed emotional intensity. Emotion then feeds more thinking. The cycle becomes endless. Most people never interrupt this cycle.
They assume every thought deserves attention.
They assume every idea deserves analysis. This creates mental overload. Overloaded minds lose clarity. Clarity protects discipline. You have a choice. Follow every thought. Or observe the thought without obeying it. Observation weakens internal noise. Stillness begins with awareness. Notice how quickly thoughts appear.
Notice how quickly the mind begins explaining situations.
The mind tries to interpret everything immediately. Someone speaks briefly. Your mind invents meaning. A delay happens.
Your mind predicts failure.
A mistake appears. Your mind creates self-criticism. These patterns happen automatically. Automatic thinking fuels emotional instability. Discipline interrupts the pattern. When a thought appears, pause. Observe it calmly. Do not follow it immediately. Allow the thought to pass. Return attention to breathing. Return attention to the present moment. This process reduces mental noise. Many thoughts disappear quickly when ignored. Attention keeps them alive. Remove attention and they fade. You do not need their permission to quiet your mind. Even when the environment feels chaotic. Even when others are reacting emotionally. Your internal state remains under your authority.
Authority begins with stillness.
Stillness creates distance between you and your thoughts. Distance weakens emotional influence.
Emotion loses strength when the mind stops feeding it.
Most people attempt to silence thoughts by force. They try to suppress thinking. They try to block emotions.
This approach creates tension.
Tension increases mental noise. Noise increases emotional intensity. Stillness works differently. You do not fight the thought. You observe it. You allow it to pass. This reduces its power. Over time, something changes. The mind becomes quieter. Thoughts slow down. Emotion loses urgency. Clarity increases. Clear minds make better decisions. Better decisions strengthen discipline. Internal silence also protects attention. When mental noise decreases, focus becomes easier. You see situations more clearly. You notice details others miss. Your responses become more deliberate. Deliberate behavior creates authority. Authority stabilizes emotion. Everything connects. Most emotional mistakes happen when internal noise dominates thinking. A thought appears. It multiplies rapidly. Emotion grows stronger. Reaction follows. Silence interrupts the chain. Stillness allows you to evaluate before reacting. Evaluation protects discipline. Discipline stabilizes behavior. Stable behavior builds confidence. Confidence reduces emotional volatility. It's not about eliminating thought. It's about discipline. Discipline decides which thoughts deserve attention. Emotion tries to control attention. Discipline redirects it. Each time you practice this, control strengthens. You become calmer. You become clearer. You become more deliberate. That calm presence influences every situation around you. People notice stability. They trust steady individuals. Steady individuals command authority. Authority strengthens discipline. You have a choice. Allow internal noise to control your mind. Or train stillness to quiet it. Silence strengthens clarity. Clarity protects discipline. Discipline creates calm authority. You stopped reacting immediately. You slowed the mind. You regulated the body. You directed your attention. Now you are reducing internal noise. Next, you must remove something that quietly destroys emotional stability: the illusion of urgency. Because urgency often pushes people to react instead of think. Urgency feels powerful. It feels necessary. It feels like something must happen immediately. Most people obey that feeling without questioning it. They rush. They respond quickly. They decide before thinking clearly. This behavior creates instability. That's the key. Emotional urgency is often an illusion. The mind creates pressure. It tells you the moment cannot wait. It tells you reaction is necessary. In many situations, this pressure is false. But when you believe the pressure, you react. Reaction weakens discipline. You have a choice: follow urgency, or slow the moment deliberately. Slowing the moment restores control. When urgency appears, pause. Notice the sensation in your body. Notice the speed of your thoughts. Notice the impulse to act immediately. That impulse is emotional momentum. Momentum pushes behavior forward without evaluation. Stillness interrupts that momentum. Take one slow breath. Then another. Allow the intensity to settle. Often the situation changes when urgency disappears. Clarity returns. Clarity protects discipline. Most emotional mistakes occur during moments of urgency. Someone sends a message. You reply immediately. Someone criticizes you. You defend yourself instantly. Someone pressures you. You make a rushed decision. Later, the consequences appear. Words you regret. Decisions you reconsider. Conflicts that could have been avoided. All created by urgency. Urgency distorts perception. Small problems appear large. Neutral comments feel threatening. Temporary issues appear permanent. The mind exaggerates when it feels pressure. Removing urgency corrects this distortion. You do not need their permission to slow down. Even when others push for speed. Even when someone demands an immediate answer. Calm individuals resist artificial pressure. They pause. They evaluate. They decide deliberately. This behavior communicates authority. Authority stabilizes interactions. Stable individuals influence the pace of a situation. When you remain calm, others often slow down as well. Calm spreads. Just as panic spreads. But calm requires discipline. Discipline refuses to be rushed. Stillness protects your judgment. Judgment improves decisions. Better decisions reinforce discipline. Many environments encourage urgency. Constant notifications. Continuous communication. Immediate responses expected. This environment trains reactive behavior. Reactive individuals lose emotional stability. You must break this pattern. Create deliberate pauses. Respond when the mind is calm. Not when emotion is loud. Not when urgency demands speed. This shift changes your entire mindset. Time expands. Decisions improve. Behavior stabilizes. Everything connects. Urgency also affects the body. The nervous system becomes activated. Breathing shortens. Muscles tighten. Thinking accelerates. When you slow your breathing, urgency weakens. The body settles. The mind follows. Calm returns. Calm restores discipline. It's not about hesitation. It's about discipline. Discipline controls timing. Emotion attempts to control timing. Discipline wins when you slow the moment. When urgency fades, clarity appears. Clarity improves perception. Better perception strengthens judgment. Judgment stabilizes behavior. Stable behavior builds confidence. Confidence reduces emotional volatility. You have a choice. Let urgency dictate your actions. Or train yourself to pause before responding. The pause protects clarity. Clarity protects discipline. Discipline creates calm authority. You stopped reacting immediately. You slowed the mind. You regulated the body. You directed your attention. You quieted internal noise. Now you remove the illusion of urgency. Next, you must prove that your calm remains stable when pressure increases. Because pressure reveals whether discipline is real. Pressure reveals the truth. Anyone can appear calm when life is quiet. Anyone can sound disciplined when nothing challenges them. Real stability appears when pressure rises. That is the moment when most people lose control. That's the key. Pressure exposes emotional habits. When tension appears, the body reacts quickly. Breathing shortens. Heart rate increases. Thoughts accelerate. Emotion intensifies. Most people follow this reaction immediately. They raise their voice. They defend themselves aggressively. They make rushed decisions. They try to force control through reaction. Reaction creates more chaos. Calm restores control. You have a choice. Allow pressure to control your behavior. Or maintain composure deliberately. Composure is not automatic. It is trained. Stillness becomes your advantage. When pressure appears, pause. Do not match the emotional intensity around you. Slow your breathing. Relax your posture. Observe the situation before acting. This pause weakens emotional escalation. Escalation depends on speed. Remove speed and emotion loses momentum. Many people believe pressure requires quick response. They think fast reaction proves competence. In reality, fast reaction often creates mistakes. Rushed words damage relationships. Rushed decisions create regret. Calm thinking produces better outcomes. Better outcomes reinforce discipline. You do not need their permission to remain calm. Even when others raise their voices. Even when someone tries to provoke you. Even when the situation becomes uncomfortable. Your stability becomes your authority. Authority does not need noise. Authority speaks calmly. Calm behavior influences the environment. When one person remains composed, tension often decreases. Your presence can stabilize a chaotic moment. This is real power. Pressure also distorts perception. When emotion intensifies, the mind exaggerates threats. A disagreement becomes conflict. A delay becomes failure. A mistake becomes disaster. Stillness corrects this distortion. When you slow down, perception becomes clearer. Clear perception improves judgment. Judgment protects discipline. Many emotional mistakes happen during stressful situations. People react before understanding the full picture. They defend themselves unnecessarily. They escalate situations that required patience. Composure prevents this pattern. Stillness gives you time to see clearly. Clear vision allows deliberate action. Deliberate action stabilizes outcomes. Pressure becomes manageable when discipline leads behavior. Discipline creates predictable responses. Predictable responses build trust. People trust individuals who remain steady under pressure. Trust strengthens authority. Authority reinforces discipline. Everything connects. Pressure also tests identity. If calm is only a temporary behavior, it disappears quickly. If calm becomes identity, it remains stable. Identity shapes reaction automatically. Disciplined individuals do not panic easily. They have trained their nervous system. They have trained their attention. They have trained their responses. Training produces resilience. Resilient individuals remain steady when circumstances change.
Stability during pressure creates long-term confidence.
Confidence reduces emotional volatility. Volatile minds struggle with discipline.
Stable minds maintain control.
It's not about suppression. It's about discipline. Discipline regulates behavior even when emotion rises. Emotion may appear. Emotion may feel intense. But emotion does not control your actions. You control your actions.
That distinction protects stability. You must practice composure during small pressures.
Minor frustration. Small delays. Unexpected obstacles. Each moment becomes training. Pause. Breathe slowly.
Observe the situation.
Respond deliberately. Repetition strengthens control. Control stabilizes identity. Identity reinforces discipline. You have a choice. Allow pressure to trigger reaction.
Or use pressure to practice calm authority.
Calm individuals make better decisions. Better decisions create stability. Stability strengthens discipline. You stopped reacting immediately. You slowed the mind. You regulated the body. You directed your attention. You quieted internal noise. You removed the illusion of urgency. Now you remain composed under pressure. Next, you must reinforce calm through daily training. Because stability becomes permanent only through repetition. Most people want calm. Few people train it.
They hope emotional stability will appear when they need it. They believe calm will arrive during difficult moments.
That rarely happens. Calm must be practiced. That's the key. Stillness is not accidental. Stillness is a skill.
Like any skill, it improves through repetition.
Without training, the mind remains reactive. Thoughts accelerate quickly. Emotion rises quickly. Attention drifts constantly. The mind becomes noisy. Noise weakens discipline. Discipline requires clarity. Clarity requires stillness. You have a choice.
Allow the mind to remain chaotic.
Or train it to remain calm.
Stillness begins with deliberate quiet.
Sit down without distraction. No phone. No conversation. No stimulation. Just breathe slowly. Observe the mind. Thoughts will appear immediately. Plans. Memories. Concerns. Judgments. This is normal. The mind has been conditioned to move constantly. Most people follow these thoughts automatically. They chase each idea. They analyze each memory. They replay conversations. This behavior strengthens mental noise. Stillness interrupts the pattern. When a thought appears, notice it. Do not chase it. Allow it to pass. Return attention to breathing. Return attention to the present moment. This simple practice trains discipline.
Each time you redirect attention, control increases.
Each time you ignore a thought, emotional influence weakens. Over time, the mind becomes quieter. Quiet minds think clearly. Clear thinking protects discipline. You do not need their permission to create moments of silence. Even when the world feels loud. Even when others constantly fill time with stimulation. Silence becomes your advantage. Most people avoid stillness. Quiet moments reveal mental patterns. They reveal anxiety. They reveal impatience. They reveal emotional habits. This discomfort causes people to escape. They reach for distraction. They open another screen.
They start another conversation.
Distraction hides instability. Stillness exposes it. Exposure allows correction. Correction strengthens discipline. Stillness also regulates the nervous system. Slow breathing signals safety to the body. Heart rate decreases. Muscle tension softens. The brain receives a calm signal. Emotion loses intensity. Clarity returns. Clarity protects discipline. Daily stillness builds resilience. Resilient minds recover quickly from stress. Stress no longer dominates behavior. Behavior becomes deliberate. Deliberate behavior stabilizes identity. Identity shapes long-term outcomes. Most people wait until pressure appears before trying to calm themselves. At that moment, the mind is already overwhelmed. Training stillness before pressure appears changes everything. Calm becomes familiar. When tension rises, the mind remembers the pattern. Pause. Breathe slowly. Observe. Respond deliberately. This pattern becomes automatic through repetition. Automatic discipline strengthens stability. Stability weakens emotional volatility. Everything connects. Stillness must extend beyond quiet practice. You apply it throughout the day. When frustration appears, pause. When irritation rises, slow your breathing. When pressure builds, relax your posture. These small moments strengthen the habit. Over time, something changes. Reaction loses urgency. Emotion fades faster. The mind becomes steady. Steady minds see clearly. Clear perception improves decisions. Better decisions reinforce discipline. It's not about escape. It's about discipline. Discipline trains the mind to remain calm. Calm behavior stabilizes life. Stable individuals influence their environment. Others notice their composure. Composure creates authority. Authority strengthens discipline. You have a choice. Avoid stillness and remain reactive. Or train stillness and develop calm power. Calm minds make stronger decisions. Strong decisions create stable lives. You stopped reacting immediately. You slowed the mind. You regulated the body. You directed your attention. You quieted internal noise. You removed urgency. You maintained composure under pressure. Now you train stillness every day. Next, you must strengthen calm by building structure into your life. Because discipline becomes easier when behavior follows a system. Calm does not survive chaos. When life has no structure, emotion takes control. You wake up without a plan. You move through the day reacting to whatever appears. A message arrives. You react. A problem appears. You react. A feeling rises. You follow it. This pattern creates instability. That's the key. Unstructured days amplify emotional volatility. Structure stabilizes behavior. When actions follow a system, emotion loses authority. Most people rely on motivation. They wait until they feel ready. They wait until they feel calm. They wait until they feel focused. Feelings change constantly. Discipline cannot depend on them. You have a choice. Follow emotion. Or follow structure. Structure removes uncertainty. When behavior is planned in advance, the mind becomes quieter. You know when to start. You know what to do. You know when to stop. The system guides behavior. Emotion loses influence. Most emotional mistakes occur during moments of uncertainty. When direction is unclear, emotion fills the gap. Fear suggests avoidance. Frustration suggests quitting. Anxiety suggests delay. Structure prevents these reactions. You follow the plan. Even when emotion disagrees. You do not need their permission to create disciplined structure. Even when others operate chaotically. Your stability becomes your advantage. Structured individuals move calmly through pressure. They know their priorities. They know their schedule. They know their responsibilities. Clarity reduces emotional noise. Noise weakens discipline. Structure protects attention. Without structure, the mind jumps constantly. Tasks compete for attention. Distractions multiply. Emotion grows stronger. A structured routine simplifies decision-making. You focus on one task at a time. You move deliberately from one activity to the next. This rhythm stabilizes the mind. Stable minds produce better decisions. Better decisions reinforce discipline. Structure also protects energy. Unstructured days require constant decision-making. What should I do next? Should I start this now? Maybe I will do it later. These questions consume mental energy. Energy lost increases emotional volatility. Volatile minds struggle with discipline. Structure removes these unnecessary choices. The decision has already been made. You simply follow the system. That's the key. Structure replaces emotional decision-making. Stillness supports structure. Before beginning a task, pause. Take one slow breath. Return attention to the present moment. Then begin deliberately. This moment of calm stabilizes focus. Focus strengthens productivity. Productivity reinforces discipline. Structure does not need to be complicated. Simple systems work best. Consistent wake times. Defined work periods. Planned rest. Quiet reflection. These patterns regulate behavior automatically. Automatic discipline protects emotional stability. Most people underestimate the power of routine. They believe routine limits freedom. In reality, routine creates freedom. When behavior becomes stable, the mind becomes calm. Calm minds think clearly. Clear thinking produces better outcomes. Better outcomes reinforce discipline. Over time, structure shapes identity. You no longer negotiate with emotion. You follow the system. Emotion loses its authority. Authority shifts to discipline. Discipline stabilizes behavior. Stable behavior builds confidence. Confidence reduces emotional volatility. Everything connects. It's not about rigidity. It's about discipline. Discipline creates systems that support calm thinking. Calm thinking strengthens emotional stability. Emotional stability improves decision-making. Better decisions build stronger lives. You have a choice. Allow emotion to guide your day. Or build structure that protects your discipline. Structure strengthens calm authority. Calm authority creates stability. You stopped reacting immediately. You slowed the mind. You regulated the body. You directed your attention. You quieted internal noise. You removed urgency. You maintained composure under pressure. You trained stillness daily. Now you build structure for stability. Next, you must complete the transformation. Because calm becomes permanent when it becomes identity. Calm begins as a practice. But practice alone is not enough. If calm depends only on effort, it disappears when pressure rises. If calm becomes identity, it remains stable. That's the key. Most people attempt to control emotion temporarily. They try to stay calm during certain moments. They attempt to remain patient when they remember to. But when tension appears, discipline fades. Emotion returns to control. Because identity has not changed. You must go further. You must become unshakable. This does not mean emotion disappears. Emotion will always appear. Anger will appear. Fear will appear. Frustration will appear. These signals are part of being human. The difference is authority. Emotion no longer commands behavior. You observe it. You regulate it. You decide what happens next. That shift defines calm power. You have a choice. Live under emotional influence. Or become the authority over your reactions. Authority requires consistency. Every moment becomes training. Small frustrations. Unexpected delays. Minor disagreements. Each situation tests your stability. Reactive individuals treat these moments as personal attacks. Disciplined individuals treat them as practice. Practice strengthens identity. Identity strengthens discipline. Most people believe strength must be loud. They believe power requires reaction. They believe intensity proves confidence. This belief creates chaos. Real strength is calm. Calm individuals do not rush. They evaluate first. They observe carefully. They act deliberately. Deliberate action produces better outcomes. Better outcomes reinforce discipline. You do not need their permission to remain steady. Even when someone tries to provoke you. Even when the environment becomes emotional. Your behavior follows standards. Standards protect identity. Identity protects discipline. Stillness remains essential. When emotion rises, pause. Slow your breathing. Observe the sensation. Allow the body to settle. Then respond deliberately. This pattern becomes automatic with repetition. Automatic discipline stabilizes behavior. Stable behavior strengthens confidence. Confidence reduces emotional volatility. Everything connects. Becoming unshakable also changes perception. Challenges appear differently. Criticism becomes information. Pressure becomes manageable. Conflict becomes something you navigate calmly. These changes occur because emotion no longer distorts reality. Reality becomes clearer. Clear perception improves judgment. Judgment strengthens discipline. Most emotional mistakes come from identification. People believe they are their emotions. They feel anger. They become anger. They feel fear. They become fear. This removes distance. Distance allows control. Emotion is an experience. It is not your identity. You observe the experience. You regulate the response. That distinction protects stability. It's not about suppression. It's about discipline. Discipline maintains calm even when emotion rises. Calm behavior stabilizes life. Stable individuals influence every environment they enter. Their presence reduces chaos. Their clarity improves decisions. Their discipline commands respect. This is calm power. You stopped reacting immediately. You slowed the mind. You regulated the body. You directed your attention. You quieted internal noise. You removed urgency. You maintained composure under pressure. You trained stillness daily. You built structure for stability. Now you complete the transformation. Calm is no longer something you try to create. Calm becomes who you are. Remain steady. Remain disciplined. Calm is power. Calm is not weakness. Calm is control. Anyone can react. Anyone can lose their temper. Anyone can panic under pressure. Very few people remain steady. Very few people pause before speaking. Very few people regulate their emotions deliberately. But that discipline changes everything. Calm minds see clearly. Calm individuals make better decisions. Calm behavior commands authority. The world rewards those who remain steady when others lose control. Pause before reacting. Slow your breathing. Direct your attention. Maintain composure under pressure. Practice stillness daily. Repeat this pattern until calm becomes your identity. Because the calmest mind in the room often holds the most power. Remain steady. Remain disciplined. Calm is power.